Hello and welcome to today's topic. My name is Promise Odera Onu, and I'm going to make this very quick, very short as usual. Today we're going to look at the judiciary system and obeying court orders right? So when you look at the judiciary system, and we know we always look at Nigeria and look at what is the best practices in the world and what is obtainable in Nigeria and try to set the balance. When you look at the judiciary system, or when you talk about judiciary system, you talk about the Supreme Court, the Federal High Court, the lower courts, the magistrate court, customary court, and all sorts of courts. Basically, whenever a judge or a magistrate makes a pronouncement over an issue, any matters before them, then what should be, the response to those pronouncements or judgments? Recently, Governor Adeleke of Osun State have been declared governor again by the Supreme Court, and I think that's final. So whenever the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of Nigeria or the land, presides over something, then it's final. But then another thing is that it's not just Supreme Court's, judgment that's supposed to be final. But then again, if the parties involved feel like the lower or the High Court or the Appeal Court have not done enough, then they want to take it to the Supreme Court. But then when you look at Nigeria, you see that a lot of people don't take court seriously. They don't take the court orders seriously. And then if you look at, judgments that have been made in the past, whether they are fair or not, how much of an impact has it made to situation of things in Nigeria, you will see that it has not done much. And this is purely because people believe that the justice system is just, skewed for the rich. It's for the rich, certainly because to afford a lawyer certainly comes with some cost. And for most other countries, the law tends to go in the favor of the least person in the party. So say for example, a rich man is being taken to court by his worker for not paying them. The law automatically tries to favor the least person, which is now the worker, and not the rich man. But then what you have in Nigeria is that you see that the rich is using the court system or any system as tool to oppress whoever is against them. Unless, of course, in a case of election where these are two rich men fighting each other, then probably justice will prevail. But then, even when pronouncements are made and judgments are made, we see the federal government not obeying those orders. We see the federal government not even obeying treaties they've signed with other countries in terms of extradition. We see the federal government of Nigeria, neglecting the legislative arm. We see the Federal Court of Nigeria even removing members of the judiciary because, of course, some of them are there by appointment. So when you look at this system, what is the consequences of this to the society? The consequence is that there is no trust in the system. The consequence is that people don't believe there is fairness, there is justice, and that in that case, people just give up. Like you have somebody with a good issue that this is unfair, or I should be going to court, but you tell them, oh, why don't you go to court? And the first thing they will say, oh, you think it's like where you are, man. Nigeria, these people own the courts, they own police, they own army, they own everything. So it's like they just lose hope that nothing can be gotten out of this. And that is very detrimental to society because it makes people feel like there's no point being good. As far as you're in position of power, you will have your way. And what that does to the psyche of people, it's like when you listen to people like Mr. Peter Obi, when he was talking, it's like he was trying to say to us that one of the key things, in terms of changing the economy and changing Nigeria as a whole is hope, right? When people have hope in the country, when people have trust in the country, when people have faith in the country, that's very, very important. Now, how can you hope in a system? You can only hope in a system that works. You can only hope in a system that is fair. You can only you can only hope in a system where you know that the son of nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. And that's where we want to take Nigeria to, because right now it's about who are you, and that's why people will easily tell you, do you know who I am? Do you know the son of who I am? Do you know who you are speaking to? Because it has not been a fair system up until now. So what we are looking to achieve, especially with the ongoing legal battle between Mr. Peter Obi and INEC and the APC presidential elect, who also have been thrown out, and I know he's on medical tourism, but then they are telling us he's going there to speak to foreign whatever on agriculture and tech and whatever. But we know, this man is ailing. He's an ailing president-elect. He's quite old. You can see he's feeble. But then that said, we want to trust that the judicial system of Nigeria is the last hope of the common man, and that they are going to do justice as pertaining to the 25th of February general elections in Nigeria. When you look at how things have sort of played out, it sort of begs the question, like, is it possible that one man can bribe the whole country? I mean, you look at countries like America and see that even Trump, Trump has been found guilty. Yeah, he's been found guilty, although not for something serious, but whatever it is, it's still a crime anyway. But he's not a criminal. All he has to do is pay money. He's not a criminal case. So all he has to do is pay $5 million and that will go away. So he's not a criminal, whatever. So even ex-presidents that have secrets of the country can still go to court and actually be made to stand trial. And then there are other countries that do the same, or even have more weightier sort of consequence for their public servants who are found to be corrupt, like China, like Japan, and all the rest. I don't want to mention what they do to their political heads. But then in Nigeria, we seem to have, first of all, immunity for every ex-president or even ex-governor. People become untouchable. And again, we still say that in democracy, nobody's above the law. Well, clearly some people are above the law in Nigeria. If clearly nobody's above the law, then the federal government should be obeying laws. Like when they said releasing them, I know now they've brought out fresh 9 charges. But then when the court said release this man, you should release them. Even if you are going to go to Supreme Court, you should obey the last court order. You see? But then you see that the allegiance of our DSS, our security agents, our police, SSS, the allegiance is not to the law, it's not to the court, it's not to the people, but to whoever they choose, whoever is on they're on their payroll. And this is why it is almost like we are fighting or we are beating a dead horse when we are trying to revive Nigeria or get Nigeria to be working again. Because our political elites and our political class are just going that way. And our security agents who are supposed to be who sworn an oath to protect the laws of the land and following our political class in their tangent. And that is why the common man has nothing. You can't fight the system, of course, you can't fight government, you can't fight the police, you can't fight the courts, you can't fight anything. So it seems like in the face of injustice, you just have to accept, because that's your only option. I mean, thankfully, Peter Obi is a billionaire and he has his access to senior advocates of Nigeria and other people that can, fight for his case. Because I know that if that was any other person, they will stifle you. You can't do nothing. So we're in a situation whereby we need to start reminding these people what the rule of law means. The rule of law means, regardless of how small the judge is, how irrelevant you think he is, once the court of law sits as an issue and makes a judgment, everybody must abide by that judgment. Anything short of this is not democracy. Anything short of this is just an evidence of failed country and tyranny. And we should not be seen as practicing that in 2023. And when we say we are practicing democracy. So we should learn to obey court orders to the letter. Not just Supreme Court, Appeal Court, High Court, any small court, anything that goes to court, unless you are planning, even if you are planning to go to a higher court, you should obey the last court order. We should obey the registration when they are inviting us. Even the Attorney General should not reject going to the registration. If the Senate is saying, come, because they have the function of oversight, you have to go there. You have to go there. So we need to be conscious of the rule of law. The judiciary system needs to be seen as the highest level of democracy, because that's why the symbol of court or judiciary is a blindfolded woman or man with a sword and a scale, right? The sword is implementation, which is the executive arm, the police, whatever, they're supposed to action anything they say. Their judgment, their pronouncement, all has to be abided by, followed by, right? And the scale with the blindness is to show that they are not seeing anybody. So you could be rich, you could be powerful, like Ikekweremadu's case, you could be whoever, you could be the president, like Trump's case, you could be whoever, and then justice should be meted. And that scale is to make sure there is a balance. Balance in the sense that it's not just the rich. It could also be against the rich, it could also be against the poor. And we see these things manifesting in other climes, how these things are done. You see how Ekweremadu, no matter how powerful and rich he is, was able to go to jail against a nobody, a boy he picked up from the streets of Lagos, right? The boy is free, probably protected, and you have a whole Senate deputy president or speaker, the wife, and a doctor, 3 people in jail. That's because the law is blinded to whoever is in the equation. And also the scale is there. And there is a law on modern slavery. Now, I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of that. We all know the case. But all I'm trying to say here is, if the judiciary is not respected to the letter, the people will lose faith and trust in the system. When somebody is meted with injustice, they wouldn't bother to even take the case up. Like, you should be in a situation, and this is why people take laws into their hands, right? And some people will say, okay, let me go spiritual. And people go and start doing juju to kill people because they don't believe that if they go to the police, justice will be done. Or if they go to the court, justice will be done. So we should be able to have a society whereby there are small courts. It's not everything that goes to the high court or go to a proper court. Sometimes you go to little tribunals or go to small court or customary court. But all these processes need to be trusted. People need to have faith in these things, right? And we need to start making the body language of the government not feel like you can disrespect court orders. Once there is a court order, it should be respected to the letter. The police need to understand that they are under the auspices of the judiciary. They are there to execute laws. They are there to make sure that whatever pronouncement the judiciary has made is being respected to the letter. Now we're hearing from the INEX case with the Adamawa Reg that the police are the ones that are supposed to prosecute him. Okay, fair enough. That means the police also have the judiciary part of them. And that's how it's supposed to be. The police is the law. That means any judiciary they pick is going to be the state versus whoever is on the other side. But then you look at how things are supposed to be done and how things are done. Unless the government are really interested in that case, things are not done like that. How many people can say the police have actually hired a lawyer on their behalf? Meanwhile, if you arrest somebody, you're supposed to provide a lawyer for the person you've arrested. Yes, everybody has a right to an attorney. So you arrest somebody, you read him his rights, you have the right to this, you have the right to remain silent, and you also have a right to attorney. And if the person says, I don't have money, I don't have a lawyer, you're supposed to provide public attorney for the person, no matter how small. There should be volunteers and, public community services who are supposed to come and look at people's cases. But in Nigeria, you have people that have been in prison for crimes they did not commit. Nobody asks of them. Nobody cares about them. And you have criminals being released because somebody have interest in them. So when you look at this whole system, you see that Nigeria is in shambles. And these are all evidence of what a failed system, a failed state. And these are things we need to start speaking up about, especially those who are educated, because we cannot continue in this, trajectory. We need to start speaking truth to power, telling those that represent us, we need to reform our police, educate them, for them to know that they are on the side of the masses and not on the side of the Oga at the top. You see, that mindset that because you carry gun, you have to respect your Oga at the top. I'm not saying there should be disobedient and rogue police members, no. But you need to always understand that even your Oga at the top is subjected to the laws of the land. So when he asks you to do something wrong, you use your internal mechanism. Raise it with the process that's supposed to be. Your guy at the top supposed to have another. And again, this will bring me to my next topic, which is oversight. We need to have oversight, okay? In here in the UK, you have what you call ombudsman. So if police does you wrong, you can go to the ombudsman. The ombudsman is like an oversight system or a checkmating system. If you go to council and council does anything, you go to the ombudsman. So we're supposed to have a police and also have a system that checkmates police. So you look at police number when he's trying to do something wrong, you raise it up. I know recently with whole social media, so when things come out on social media, for those who are able to sort of video them, the police take action to penalize or discipline those individuals. But what if somebody has not actually have the boldness to bring out a phone and start recording what has happened or what has transpired with a policeman? So what then happens? So people should be able to remember the registration number and be able to raise these things, and there should be processes. Without these processes, there will be no balance in the society. People will not have trust or hope in the system, where ordinarily that's supposed to be the case. No matter how rich you are, how poor you are, your money shouldn't matter, right? Judges shouldn't be bought over. Judges should be people of credibility, integrity, transparency, high repute in the society that are doing their job for fairness. They should be protected by the police, and they should not be harassed, and their judgment should not be thwarted by corruption or corrupt leaders. So we need to look into these things. Remember, my page is about best practices, and we know what is obtainable. Look at Ekweremadu. 51 letters was sent to the UK. They neglected all of that because they are not going to bend their laws for you. Whether you are telling them to tamper justice with mercy or blah, blah, blah. The point is, you have not provided an aftercare for this young man, and you plan to harvest his organ just because of your children. Normally, if you want to do organ donation, you do it by family. Families are the ones that sort of, and then you come and even the doctor himself claimed his cousin gave him his own organ, because the doctor himself also did the kidney transplant. But then he himself lied that it was his cousin where he was not. So we have to look at these things. Laws are supposed to be obeyed. And then for laws to be obeyed, of course, the court has to do their due diligence, do their investigation, which of course they have to carry out using the police, whether the secret police or the DSS or whatever. But all these people need to be on the side of the law and not corrupt. Because should any process be corrupt, then justice will not be served. Because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that is why you look at very advanced societies, they understand this simple logic. And that's why no matter who you are, in the eyes of the law, you are seen as the same. That a whole president, an ex-president, will be subjected to a jury, to a court to stand trial. So, and he's a billionaire. So again, when you look at Nigeria and look at what's obtainable elsewhere, especially those we are trying to copy, you see that we are very far away from what we are claiming to be doing. So we need to come back to the basics, okay? And to state this categorically, I don't think there is anybody that is clamoring for Igbo Senate president, by the way. Igbos have had a fair share of their presidency in the Senate. What we want is an Igbo president, and we had the best candidate for that. In the Senate, we don't have even credible people that, supposed to be the Igbo presidency, so to speak. So I don't think we are interested. Igbo men know that, or Igbos know that they've actually been in the Senate presidency before, but we have not been the president of Nigeria before. So that said, we have a credible human being in Peter Obi. So aside being Igbo, he's also competent, and he also has the character and the track record. But then that said, we need to make sure our Senate represents the most powerful legislatures, because they are the richest in the whole world. Our senators are the richest in the whole world. So we are supposed to be the most powerful Senate in the whole world. And now, the executive or the execution of your laws is as powerful as those laws. So if you have laws and you enact very wonderful laws and it's not being sort of implemented or executed, then you don't have any laws. I'm sorry to say. Because you can't say, for example, if anybody litters, they will go to jail. And nobody goes to jail when they litter. Of course, people will continue to litter. So that's the problem. So we need to stick by the laws, and that means we need to make sure our police understands these laws, understand the onus is on them to make sure they are being implemented and being executed, and of course have a process to make sure that every rogue police or every corrupt police is weeded out and even thrown to jail, because that's what happens in other places. So judiciary cannot be overemphasized, and all eyes are on the Nigerian judiciary system. We are praying and hoping they do the right thing, because the joy, it's like what happened in Oshun when Adeleke was declared the governor again. You can see the joy on the streets of Abuja, of Oshun. Everybody's happy again. The joy that we emanate from Nigerians the moment Peter Obi reclaims his mandate will be overwhelming. Not just those in Nigeria, but those abroad. So it is very important we continue to speak truth to power, and hopefully please share this video. You never know how powerful this can be when it gets into the right hand or the right people to hear it. Like it, share it, comment it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and together we are going to build a better Nigeria, because this is our time. Thank you, Jennifer. This is our time. We are in this dispensation. This is that leaders of tomorrow. So this is tomorrow. This is our today. So we need to help these outgoing politicians to understand that in this new generation of leaders or people, we don't want to be as corrupt as they are. We want to be upstanding. We understand that nobody cares about who was the richest man 100 years ago. Nobody cares about how rich you are in the next 50 years. What makes you stand out and makes your name resonate is what you've achieved, the impact you've made, how powerful your policies have become. That's what we make people to be remembered. Not because you are rich, not because you have money across the world. Nobody even cares if you are rich. I mean, Ekweremadu is very rich. He's been in Senate for 28 years. He have a lot of mansions around the globe. It was read out to him. But amongst all of those things, it didn't make him any special. In fact, the judge told him that this boy comes from a village, he doesn't have electricity, doesn't have good road. So that speaks volume. So we need to understand that we'll be remembered by our works. So what are you doing in your own little capacity to make sure you are not corrupt, to make sure you are standing for the right thing, to make sure you are doing good by people, to make sure you are a law-abiding citizen? You're a good person, not to mean religious, so to speak. But there's nothing wrong with being religious. But then be a good person to the next person. Love yourself as your neighbor. Love your children like other children. Love other children like your children. So there is no hierarchy of human beings. We are all human beings. There's nothing like being superhuman. Look at everybody as the same as yourself. In fact, be nicer to people than you are to yourself. In some cases. And that way we'll build a better society, because if everybody have that same mindset, then we have a better world. Not people trying to pack money for their children and their children's children as if other people are not human beings. Please, it's time for us to start checkmating this thing. The rule of law must be obeyed. Court orders must be obeyed. Judiciary must be respected, because judiciary is looking at things with being blindfolded and trying to scale up things to have a balance, and using the power of the law to make sure justice is delivered. And that's supposed to be what is obtainable, especially in a country as complex and complicated as Nigeria. Thank you. I'm going to stop here till next time. Please, if you have any topic suggestion you want me to talk about, please send it across, and please share this video. It's extremely important, and together we can build a better society. Bye for now.